Welcome to my world, where you will experience an atmosphere of love, relevant subjects, and motivation. So let's talk about things that matter. What matters to you matters to me. When it comes to depression, you wouldn't think that there would be so many lies and misconceptions as it relates to depression, right? But the truth is that there are. And that's what I want to discuss with you today. Our message is unveiling, uncovering. That's what that word unveil means. Unveiling the myths about depression, part 3. Myths, myths, myths. They are not only all around us, but they are also connected to depression. There are lots of myths, which is a held but false ideal or belief that many people have about depression that's a complete fabrication. It's just simply not true. So in today's episode, I want us to unveil, uncover, or expose some of these myths regarding depression. Let's talk about some of the myths. Number one, if you feel depressed, that means you have depression. Now we know that's not true. That if you feel depressed, that means you have depression. There may be times you may feel depressed. We talked about this in episode number 1. There may be times you may feel depressed, doesn't necessarily mean you have depression. Number 2, depressed people are always in a sad mode. We also know that that's not true. Number 3, if a person appears to be always happy, that means they are not depressed. And if you really think about that one, there are people that are happy that are depressed. So just because they always appear that they're happy all the time doesn't mean they don't have depression. Sometimes that's a mask to hide their depression. Number 4, depression is not a reality. How many times you've heard people say that, oh, depression is not real, it's not a reality? You may feel that way until you walk down that road. Depression is a reality. Number 5, women are the only one who suffers from depression. That's not true. Number 6, depression is something that one day you will snap out of. I've heard a lot of people say that. If you got depression, you'll snap out of it one day. Well, a lot of people I talk to, when it relates to depression, it don't always work like that, my friend. Number 7, depression is a choice. We talked about that last week. We know that depression is not a choice. No one chooses their mental disorder. Number 8, depression always comes because of a bad decision you've made. That is a myth as well. Number 9, if depression runs in your family, you have the likely chances of getting depression yourself. That's not true. Just because daddy was depressed or mama was depressed or your cousins was depressed doesn't mean that, oh, I'm going to get it because they're all depressed. Number 10, depressed people will always be on medication. That's a myth. I know quite a few people who have depression have other ways and forms of handling or coping with their depression. Some of them were on medication and removed themselves. Seems like in some instances that some do better without the medication. Some say medication makes them worse. Only you who have depression will understand what I just said. Number 11, addressing your depression only makes it worse. Meaning that if you sit down with a friend or if you talked about it, it only makes it worse. That's not true. Sometimes it's good to talk about your depression and where you're at mentally. It doesn't make it worse. Number 12, depression is just in someone's head. That goes with what we just said with number 4. Number 4 and number 12 kind of connects. Because if you believe that depression is just in someone's head, you're basically saying that depression is not a reality. That it's not, oh, it's just in your mind. How many times you heard people say that? We know that's not true. Number 13, another one I've heard people say, everyone deals and handles depression the same way. That's not true either. Everybody doesn't handle or deals with depression the same way that someone else may handle it. Number 14, another myth that we hear is depressed people are inactive and non-productive. In other words, they just lay on the couch all day. They don't do anything. That may be partially true, but overall it's not true. Because depressed people are productive and they're not always inactive. They are very active. Number 15, there is a magic pill for depression. And as many of you know, there is a magic pill. There may be pills and medication that may help you deal with your depression, but I don't believe there's a magic pill that'll just take it all away. So we can see that none of these misconceptions or myths are true, but we can say that they are harmful. Sometimes you have to peel back all the lies to find the truth. It can be hard letting go of a belief, but for your own mental health, it's important to let it go. Even if you don't want to, you gotta let it go. Because to hold on to those myths, you're actually adding more toxic to your mental health. It's unhealthy for you to hold on to these myths. They're not true. So we're all on a discovery for truth. And it's a beautiful thing. Can I ask you a question? What are some myths that you've heard about depression that wasn't true? And could you let me know what they were? Maybe by putting them in the comment section down here. I'm sure you've heard of some. And not only that, I want to also add, how did that make you feel, you who are struggling with depression, hearing these myths about your mental disorder that you know that wasn't true? How did that make you feel to hear that? We should say to ourselves, I choose facts over lies. I want facts. And speaking of facts, let's discuss some facts about depression. Number 1, both men and women suffer from depression. That's a true statement. Number 2, depression comes in different forms. We also know that's true. Number 3, no one handles depression the same way. That's true. Number 4, depression is a real mental illness. That's true. Number 5, depression doesn't always have to have a reason. That's also true. Because some people say, well, if you got depression, there's a reason why you have it. Well, sometimes people don't know the reason why they have it. That's almost like saying, well, if you have depression, it's a choice. You already know how I feel about that. sometimes the chemicals in the brain is responsible for mood control. So sometimes you don't always have a reason why you have depression. Number 6, depression goes much further than sadness. I think I talked about that before as well. Depression is much more than sadness. It means more than that. As many of us know that sadness is a part of the human experience, depression is so much more intense. Number 7, depression can be treatable depending on your situation. Seeing and getting therapy or meds can be a tremendous help. Also, I would also like to recommend even psychotherapy. Could be very helpful too, depending on the level of depression you have. Number 8, people don't choose depression, but they do choose how they deal with it. I like that. You didn't choose depression, but you can choose how you deal with it. These are just a few facts, and I'm sure there are more. Let's seek for truth concerning depression, and I promise you, you will benefit greatly. Join me next week as we go into part 4 of our series, The Sting of Depression. Are you learning something? I know I am. So join me next week as we go into part 4. We're going to talk about is depression demonic or spiritual? And I really believe this is going to be really good, and I know you will enjoy it.
Hi, if you like what you've seen today, be sure to connect with Brother Henry at www.facebook.com/The Brother Henry and You Show. And also be sure to check out and subscribe to his YouTube channel, which is www.youtube.com/Henry Harris 100. We hope that this has been a blessing to you, and we hope to hear from you soon. Keep watching, because what matters to you matters to Brother Henry.